Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis, and today we're going to be talking about Hedera and Hbar. So sit back, relax, and let's just dive in and let's talk about a few things. So in today's video, we're actually going to be centered on XRP and Hbar, and you might be wondering, well, how are these two actually working together? Well, we're going to be addressing that and really kind of talking about it. I think that this is actually centered on the Federal Reserve, and we're actually going to be discussing in depth on what I believe is actually happening behind the scenes and really kind of what's happening with the Federal Reserve as well right now. Currently, we have been definitely eyeing what the Federal Reserve is going to do next because currently, in regards to like the monetary system, things are breaking a bit. So it's very interesting to see what they're going to do next, what their plans are, and with all of that in mind, let's actually talk about what we have in front of us. So there was a Twitter Spaces that went on, and it was with XSpectre, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, metaverse and NFT projects on the XRP ledger. I've talked about them in the past, especially on my NFT channel. And we do see down here, live now, the XRP and Hbar communities are out in full force. And yeah, this is very exciting. And their first Twitter Spaces with Hbar and XRP hit 28,000 plus listeners. This was absolutely insane. Literally, 28,000 plus people listening. If that doesn't tell you how strong this community is, I don't know what will. I've been focused on the NFT sector on Hedera for a while here. You know, we've definitely been looking at a few things happening on the Hedera sector as well. You know, it really is something special to watch this community kind of morph into what it has become. And I'm so excited for the future of Hedera, especially if we are going to kind of have these two communities converge. Because the XRP community in regards to NFTs and metaverse, all that, it's absolutely insane as well. But also, we are going to be getting into the in-depth view after this tweet here. So definitely stick around for a couple more minutes and definitely, you know, listen up because what I'm going to be talking to you guys about next is going to be pretty large. But first off, I want to just confirm what is happening with ServiceNow. So we are building out this massive ESG asset tokenization platform with ServiceNow. This is going to be going live on the Now platform, which, by the way, the Now platform is connected to some pretty large retail names. The best part about this, right, is that the reason why this is such a large innovation is very similar to anything else I talk about, even with XRP. Do you guys remember what I was talking to you guys about in regards to like a domino effect happening within finance? You know, a lot of people think that, oh, it's going to take years on top of years for all of these massive, you know, financial institutions and banks to be connected to DLT. What the thing is that securing a partnership like ServiceNow from Hedera's side with ESG is the fact that every single major name tied to the Now platform will now have access to ESG asset tokenization on Hedera. And I know that a lot of people probably think that that's not a lot of names at all. Just real quick, I could kind of show you guys just how large that actually is. But I want you guys to just put a little bit of a focus point on this, kind of read over a few things within this. There's a ton of benefits within tokenized asset, well, I should say ESG tokenization in regards to assets. But the reason why I'm focused on this use case so much, and the reason why I've talked about it so much, is because of the Now platform. You go check out their products up here. I believe it is, or I actually think that might be in their solutions. Or I think it might be under platform actually. So yeah, latest Now platform release. So if you go over here to ServiceNow's website and you go under platform and you go to the Now platform, you can actually go to learn more over here. And here's where you can kind of see what they are trying to do. So transform with a single unifying platform for digital business. This is all centered on the digital workflows of tomorrow. This is actually going to disrupt the business core process of everything. And all of these major names are already kind of tied to the Now platform. If you actually go and look at their customers, you can actually go to their case studies, or if you just click customers in general, I guess it doesn't actually open that. But I think that if you go to the homepage and just scroll down, you can kind of see some of the names. Yeah, trusted by over 7,400 enterprise customers. Over 80% of the Fortune 500 are already kind of tied to ServiceNow. And a lot of them are utilizing the Now platform. And This is the latest release of this. I don't know if I could actually get this image. Yeah, so we can't really see that image all that much. I don't even know if I can you can kind of see it on a zoomed in base point, but this is all centered around enterprise asset tokenization and management, which is pretty large. But we do see that 95% of CEOs see the need to adopt a digital first strategy, and the majority of organizations are down the path of executing their plans. So this is going to be pretty big because the Now platform is centered around Hedera. It's not built out on Hedera, but it does have the ESG management and tokenization aspect on it. And we do see down here that ServiceNow is collaborating with DXC Technology, Emissions Box, Fujitsu, KPMG, and so many other major names to extend ESG management's reach and capabilities into the market. So this is actually going to be a global reach in regards to the ESG reporting and tokenization, which is going to be very exciting. And all of this, like this is actually where Hedera comes into place, is the ESG asset tokenization, which is going to be very exciting. And you can actually see this over here, that ESG Public Ledger, the Hedera Guardian, and Now platform enabled sustainability solution from ServiceNow. So this is all centered with it's going to be very exciting. This is going to take a little bit of time to be fully built out and go live, but I've been focused on this use case for a while just because I believe that this is going to be a very large one. If you want to go and check out some of their partnerships, you can check out some of their partnerships. They do have a ton of names labeled on here. Here's just a few of their strategic technology alliances, some major names out there. And then if you go and check out their About section on their website, this is where you can really kind of see an insight on how they are connected to 80% of the Fortune 500. You can read some of the success stories as well. I think that this is going to be a big name behind Hedera simply because of the core process that they are disrupting, which is the core business process and also the ESG disruption. But with all that in mind, let's actually talk about what we are really here for, which is the Federal Reserve essentially utilizing Hedera and also Ripple. So, well, I should say HBAR and XRP. So MTech has been the focus point for me for a while, since we first started talking about them back in May of 2021. We've been centered on MTech and really kind of seeing what they've been building. For the longest time, a lot of people thought that MTech was no longer utilizing Hedera, and when we seen a lot of people asking the questions, I said, listen, go check out the reports of Hedera posting about MTech and about their partnership, and really kind of read it, because that's going to give you a quick insight on everything that is centered around MTech with HBAR, and the use cases there were very substantial. But MTech is really kind of focused on everything around regulatory standards, and their sandbox. Their sandbox in regards to regulations is like, for an example, I could just kind of read this off. So they're quoting the BIS here, and the BIS is actually talking about a regulatory framework around big tech and financial services, more so kind of centered around digital assets and things like that. What do you see up here? We agree, and this is why we built a modern API-first regulatory sandbox innovation that will not wait for regulatory frameworks and new roles, should learn from market activities in order to be more effective. It promotes innovation and risk management win-win. Do you sandbox? Now, again, like, this is just a quoted tweet from MTech with the BIS, but we have been focused on what MTech has been doing, especially with some major banks in the Caribbean. They've been focused on CBDCs for the most part. They have been making their name known in Africa as well. They've been expanding rapidly, and it is all centered around their solution with CBDCs and their sandbox solution as well around regulatory standards. They have been the giant, and they have been killing things. Quite frankly, they have been really kind of streamlining CBDC discussions with, Hedera. And a few of the ones that we have been looking at are just like some of these major announcements from even the Treasury focused on digital assets, because, again, the biggest barrier to success around crypto right now is regulations. But this was the big one that we really kind of focused on in regards to CBDC adoption and also digitization around a digital dollar, aka a digital USD dollar. So when we looked at this, we were very surprised with the connections to MTech yet again, because for the longest time, like I said, MTech has been the big leader behind Hedera to CBDCs. And we do see here, we are proud to support MTech Inc. on its new green CBDC framework. With Hedera, there is no more secure, high performance an energy efficient network on which central banks can unlock the true value of sustainable CBDCs. And yeah, I mean, like Hedera is probably one of the biggest choices for a lot of things within CBDCs, and I'm very excited for what's to come. And also, I love that Mitchell is posting. I believe that this is the P&D working paper. So that was the biggest connection to MTech. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, this is the Project New Dawn. I actually have it over here. Sorry, here we have it. So this is the P&D white paper. This is talking about digital cash infrastructure for all. We do see some of the advisors here. For an example, this is with MTech, obviously the founder and CEO at MTech, Managing Director, Women Innovation Fund Accelerator, advisor at MTech, former Federal Reserve, and then there's a few other major names down here as well. And we could see the mission statement. They are really kind of looking at a digital cash infrastructure and banking the underbanked. And then in collaboration with MTech, Microsoft, and Hedera Hashgraph. And this is where a lot of the rumors I talked about in regards to like Microsoft working with Hedera in the past as well. I do believe that partnership will morph into reality. But if you go and check out their white paper on this, it does load up a little bit slow because there is a ton of information within that. But while this does load up, I do want to talk to you guys a little bit about how large of a use case this actually is and what we have been paying attention to recently. So if you actually go over to Google and type in Hedera Hashgraph Federal Reserve, you're met with a few things here. I already kind of read a lot of them. The biggest one is this discussion here. So this is from August 16th, 2022, and you do see the previous one, which is a file actually. This is a PDF. Just be careful downloading anything. I'm always skeptical on it, but I did download this one and we really kind of looked into it. I thought that it was very interesting. But we do see that this is from February 15th, 2022, this year. And this doesn't have a ton of discussions in it, or not much connections at all to Hedera, besides one specific thing. First off, I'll go back to the August 16th one. Federal Reserve Board provides additional information for banking organizations engaging or seeking to engage in crypto asset related activities. This is really kind of just focused on, crypto within banks and just kind of utilizing crypto or offering crypto to, clients and things like that, and crypto-related activities, which is the August 16th one, which doesn't really matter too much. What does matter, though, is the February one, because if you actually look up Hedera in this, now, by the way, you go to the top here, you can see that this is just kind of focused on things happening around CBDCs, really kind of discussing digitization happening around the world. And this is public comments received on money and payments, the US dollar in the age of digital transformation. This is the direct file from the Federal Reserve. Like I said, this is this file here, public comments received on money and payments. Now, like I said, if you do search up Hedera, there's only one spot in here that you can see Hedera being mentioned, and it is alongside RippleNet with XRP, or I should say the XRP ledger. And we do see, how might domestic and cross-border digital payments evolve in the absence of a US CBDC? So if we don't see a US CBDC, come into play, which from the Federal Reserve, it seems like they don't want a US CBDC currently. They're actually looking at a stablecoin, which is totally fine as well. Hedera has a lot of usability within the stablecoin issuance area, but we do see using RippleNet, the XRP ledger, or a stablecoin built on the XRP ledger, alternatively using Hashgraph technology from Hedera Hashgraph. Now, I wouldn't think much of this if it wasn't for the fact that we know that Ripple, or I should say RippleNet, is tied to Volante Technologies. And if you guys don't know about Volante Technologies, they are working with the Federal Reserve on the FedNow payments. Now, that is to streamline digitization and also to really kind of unlock a ton of efficiencies that we would never really kind of see in a traditional system. Volante Technologies unlocks the door for that, especially in regards to like instant settlement. Now, why do I mention that? Why do I bring that up? And why does it make me think of Hashgraph, or Hedera, I should say? Well, when we look at things happening around the world in a lot of the, I should say, we'll look at like the central banks, right? The central banks have been moving very fast on CBDCs and digitization, and I do believe that stablecoins will essentially be the main focus point. I don't believe that CBDCs essentially are going to take over rapidly or happen rapidly. Obviously, they are being focused on and they are being researched, but a stablecoin does make a lot more sense. I've actually mentioned this with Quant with commercial stablecoins. The reason why I believe that Hedera Hashgraph is going to be utilized by the Federal Reserve, I should say Hashgraph technology, is not only because of the P&D, which is the Project New Dawn white paper. And by the way, if you actually look up Hedera here, there's a few discussions here talking about interoperability. So in regards to this, they do talk about the digital cash blockchain can be integrated with existing systems and does not require major retooling of the current banking system. Further, working with the Hedera Hashgraph network, we will develop further understanding on how to utilize interoperability to provide trust in the private CBDC network. And there's a lot more discussions on it down here as well. Technical collaborators, they will be the DLT for building decentralized applications developers can build. They go on to mention really kind of what it is. They go on to mention a few other things as well in regards to like Hyperledger Fabric, R3 Corda, all that kind of stuff. And then I want to really kind of talk to you guys about, there was a section that I really wanted to talk about, which was, I believe it was actually up here. One second. So I think it was actually the one before this. So let me actually go back to that. So yeah, it was this one that I was thinking of. So when we look at what Hedera is actually going to provide for them, I don't know if they changed the wording here or anything like that, but we do know that this is going to be the trust layer essentially for the CBDC platform if, and I always say if, it is fully utilized properly, because again, we don't know what their plans are. We don't know if their plans are going to change, but in my understanding on how this will work is we have the digital dollar project, which we've been focused on, and it's more so kind of talking about issuance of a CBDC or possibly even a commercial stablecoin on a private ledger basis. Hedera would essentially be that ledger. Could it be the XRP ledger too? Yeah, 100%, sorry. Which we really kind of have to gauge and just kind of see what unfolds within that area. But what we do want to look at is the trust layer behind this all. Something needs to be extremely high secure. And we're talking about high security, like beyond the means of your typical, security layers. ABFT does come to mind, asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance, which is the trust layer. This is the big one. When we look at, we will develop further understanding on how to use interoperability to provide trust in the private CBDC network. This kind of centers me on the Hedera Hashgraph network for trust, aka the trust layer, and it's going to kind of bridge out and connect a few things in regards to like gateway nodes or even services in regards to interoperability centered on Hedera. Again, that's my understanding on how this would work with Hedera, just being the trust layer for this. Do I believe that we could combine the power of Hedera and also XRP? 100%. Interoperability between the two would be crucial, but we definitely have to focus a little bit more on that when the time comes. All we do know that is currently with MEXC, MEXC already has a client or engagement with the United States Federal Reserve. And also, by the way, all of the other major banks here are labeled Central Bank of Bahamas, Ghana, and also even Nigeria. And a lot of their advisors are from some pretty substantial names, like for example, former IMF, IBM, Stripe and PwC. And then up here, like even, Maurice over here, she is from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. She's a very high tier name, and you could read all of their backgrounds here. All of these major names are tied to MEXC, and MEXC is focused on building out a digital economy and really kind of connecting this modern financial ecosystem together and really kind of banking the unbanked. This has been their focus point for a very long time, and they continue to expand. And in fact, we do see over here, this is from yesterday, headed to FinTech Islands in Barbados to discuss lessons and what's ahead for CBDCs in the Caribbean, which I'm very excited about. We do see I'll be moderating a conversation with Eastern Caribbean central banks and Central Bank of Barbados, as well as FinTechs working with Bahamas and Jamaica CBDCs. And then over here, this goes back to the September 20th, MEXC onboards SEC Ghana on its digital regulatory sandbox platform. And then last but not least, I do want to focus on a few things within this article before we continue. And the first one is MEXC is delayed to deploy this modern innovation with the SEC Ghana. We heard from both regulators and fintechs in Ghana that multi-regulator collaboration can unlock efficiency, help understand risk better, and improve regulatory clarity for the financial ecosystem. We are truly honored to be part of this digitization journey with the SEC Ghana. And there's a lot more down here that they do talk about. Fintech is thriving in Africa, and the continent's financial services industry requires innovative regulation. All of this is centered on regulation, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but regulation is the biggest barrier to success around DLT adoption, as well as digitization moves. And I think that it does make sense to have that regulation aspect tied in before anything does kind of move forward. But the only major connection that we really kind of see here with MTech is the Project New Dawn white paper, which I think really kind of gives us an insight on what's actually happening. And at the bottom here, by the way, you do see like all the collaborators here. This is with Deloitte, by the way, as well. Actually, like I said, I think that they changed a few things because I don't remember these two slides being here, but you can kind of see what we're looking at in regards to the Federal Reserve System. Like this is the full-on digitization move of the Federal Reserve System. So one, you have the U.S. Central Bank, 3 key entities, the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, the 12 Federal Reserve Banks, and then the Federal Open Market Committee. And the 5 key functions. So, 1, conducting the nation's monetary policy, helping maintain the stability of the financial system, supervising and regulating financial institutions, fostering payment and settlement safety or system safety and efficiency, and then promoting consumer protection and community development. So all of this is kind of centered on what is actually happening behind the scenes. In regards to like a digital dollar, I think that the digital dollar is on its way. I think that this was the biggest tie to the digital dollar at the time. A lot more has changed since then, but it is still kind of centered on DLT and DLT systems, private ledger bases as well. We could actually kind of see a little bit of the CBDC pyramid here as well. Let me zoom in on this. So there's a few systems here which we've actually talked about, even with Quant Network as well, QNT. I think a lot of collaboration will be happening at the core process of all of this. In regards to interoperability, I believe that we will see, the way that I look at a CBDC system is at the core you'll have Quant intertwining all of the DLT systems to one. And you'll have these specific DLTs like Hedera, like XRP Ledger, Algorand, XLM, all of these massive DLT projects that are expanding every single day. All of these will play a vital role, and a lot of them are going to be the ones that are ISO 222 compliant. I don't believe that matters to an extent. I think that it definitely puts them on a little bit of a pedestal beyond the means of other major, layer ones or DLTs out there. But the way that I look at this is you will have the direct architecture at the bottom point, which is indirect or direct claims and will operational role for the central bank. And this is centered on real-time payments, cash-like with peer-to-peer functionality, DLT base or conventional central bank infrastructure, resilient and robust operations. Again, all of this is really kind of centered on, digitization of a CBDC. This is like this entire PDF file in regards to the Project New Dawn was, and it still remains. I really do think that this is like the biggest one. Like this is, at the end of the day, probably one of the largest connections to the Federal Reserve at the end of the day. Like, for an example, here we have Project New Dawn is urging the Federal Reserve and congressional leaders to consider making cash the most trusted and reliable form of payment, digital and accessible to everyone. Modern technology has provided an opportunity to create ecosystems that provide trust, privacy, compliance, and interoperability. More importantly, a digital cash infrastructure would establish an efficient cash-to-people model that can support the unbanked cash-based populations. And I really do think that within like the next 3 to 5 years, everything around this space is going to change rapidly, specifically on CBDC issuance and adoption. Like, for an example, over here, we do see partnerships will be developed with key organizations and companies spanning across the following industries: banking and financial institutions, which have already started to happen, community organizations supporting unbanked and closing the wealth disparity gap, organizations supporting development of CBDC, local regional governments supporting financial literacy and digital adoption, local regional merchants adopting digital cash options, startup technology firms in fintech, financial literacy, and also digital cash payments. And by partnering with trusted community organizations, PMD can bring financial technology innovation via digital cash to sectors of the United States that have been forgotten or ignored simply because of the difficulty in reaching this portion of the unbanked population. So yeah, this is a very interesting area. Do I believe that at the end of the day, Hedera is going to be utilized by the Federal Reserve? I think that this is an incredible connection to it. And I really do think that with all of the connections that we do see, the major two that are always mentioned here are Ripple and Hedera. Like these are the two ones that really kind of stand out to me. It's interesting that the two major examples are just XRP. Well, I should say the XRP ledger and the Hedera Hashgraph technology as well, which is very interesting to me because again, why mention these two as examples only? I mean, you could have mentioned any other major DLT, but like these are the two that really do stand out the most in regards to technological advancements. And MTech has been continuously, like I said, working their way up in regards to all of their products offerings. These are incredible. Like the digital regulation, digital cash. These two are very interesting. I think that we recently did a breakdown on them. They also do have a few industries up here in regards to like central banks. If you check out the central bank area, see everything around this. Also, by the way, the graphics are very similar to Ripple's website. I'm not trying to say like that these are fully connected or anything. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I do believe that there will be a ton of collaboration here. And if you even go over to like Hedera, they're focused on real-time settlement. They're focused on low and predictable fees, regulatory compliance as well. These have been the three key initiatives around finance. And by the way, they do mention by 2023, digital transactions values could reach $6.7 trillion globally, and that's only in 1 year. So, and we do see public distributed ledgers that enable the issuance of stablecoins and other cryptocurrencies for payment use cases, reduce costs associated with payment processes and point of sale systems. In my opinion, like when we look at like liquidity efficiencies and all that kind of stuff, I do believe that these DLTs like Hedera and like the XRP ledger, these are going to be the ones that really kind of secure the system. And I don't want to say save the world, if you will, but I think that these will systemically de-risk the monetary system that is ultimately not only fragmented, but also essentially broken at this current moment in time. So with all that in mind, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know that it was a little bit longer than expected, but if you guys did like the video, definitely hit that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys have more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As it's up to you all, have a beautiful day, beautiful night, wherever you guys are on this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.